Welcome to part 3 of this Football Manager 2018 experiment called Starting From Scratch. If you missed parts 1 and 2, please go and watch them first so you know what this is all about. So in part 2 we reached the year 2021 and my initial plan for part 3 was to holiday a few years into the future and then just do sort of a video at the end of that period of time. However, the support on part 1 and 2 from you guys was great. Loads of views, loads of likes, loads of comments. Thank you very much. It really is very much appreciated. And I thought it'd be a bit of a shame to just holiday into the future and not really look at things in a bit more detail because you guys seem to be enjoying that. So I'm going to do another 3 seasons in this part 3. And if you want me to go another 3 seasons after that, remember to hit the like button so you can let me know that you want more of this. And also let me know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying this, then let me know. And I'm happy to sort of continue for as many videos as you want, really, on this. It might get a bit samey after a while, so let me know if you think it's come to the end of the series. As you can see, though, 2022, we've got a different winner of the Premier League. Newcastle are the English Premier League champions, winning with 77 points, ahead of the most successful team on this experiment, Leicester City, in second. But Man City have finished 4th. They really have done extremely well to somehow turn this around. Compared to the other teams, of course, we've got Liverpool staying up this year on 42 points, but Man United and Arsenal have both gone back down to the Championship. So it's not really going particularly well for them. Let's have a look at the Championship before I look at the individual teams. But you can see Spurs have been promoted again via the playoffs. They were down in League One, remember. Chelsea have also gone up. So we're going to see Man United and Arsenal, the 2 teams in the Championship next season. The other 4 teams will be in the Premier League. I don't know if they'll all eventually recover and turn into Premier League teams or if we're going to see some yo-yo teams. Man City, though, are doing very well. They've got David Wagner in charge of the team. And Ben Woodburn is their captain at the age of 22. The Welshman is captain of Manchester City. The key players from Slovakia, 27-year-old Slovakian. They've obviously dropped in reputation. They're still rich, but they're only qualifying for the Euro Cup now, of course. They did spend a hell of a lot of money, though. They spent 203... Let's turn this off so you can see this properly. £203 million. That is insane. So they're still spending loads of money. Tolisso was their key signing this year, 27-year-old Frenchman from Barcelona. So he had obviously moved to Barcelona as well. Luke Shaw came from Swansea for £35.5 million. Alex Pritchard for £25 million. They've spent so much money. They have sold players as well, but they certainly are spending more than they're selling. And this is the current team of Manchester City. Before I forget, someone in part 2 did ask for me to look at the coefficients because this is what affects how many European places there are, how many Champions League places. You can see the English teams are really far down. You can see why there's now only 3 Champions League places assigned to England because we've got quite a few Spanish, Italians and French and German teams above Leicester City, who are down in 18th place. The next best English team is Watford in 29th place. So it's certainly dropped off quite significantly. Everton in 33rd, Newcastle in 37th, Bournemouth and Southampton above Man City at the moment, who are down in 57th place. That's the best team out of the top 6 English Premier League teams from the start of this experiment, of course. So you can see why England's starting to struggle. The reputation of the league is down to 5th, below Ligue 1. It's fascinating, this. There's so much you can mess up with a game when you just fiddle around with the editor. There's so much potential for various things that you can do. I did do a series back in December, which it's probably my favourite experiment I've done this year, actually, where I gave the top 6 English Premier League teams a 50-year transfer embargo. That was brilliant. I absolutely loved that series, so I'd recommend going to check that out if you haven't watched it already. Anyway, Liverpool were the other team to survive in the Premier League this season. They're only a 3.5-star reputation team. They've only got okay finances. And this is their manager, Neil Harris. They've had some intriguing managers, haven't they? They're Paul Hurst. They've had Bilic in charge for a year, but he didn't last very long. I don't know if he went to Sevilla, so he just left of his own accord. But Liverpool are in a bit of trouble. Their net spend is only about 25 million, something like that. which isn't great considering every Premier League team should be spending that nowadays because of TV money. They're not in a great position, are they? Their biggest sign was Gabriel from Leeds United, a 28-year-old Brazilian who's not being capped by Brazil. They've had to sell a few players as well, not for very much money. Tyrone Mings went to Brentford, as you can see there. And they're not in the best position. This is their team. Doubt there's any real life... Well, there won't be any real life players left because we released them all, but I don't think anyone has returned to Liverpool. Of course, we did see them sign Southampton players, of course, which is pretty hilarious, really. Oh, Markovic has gone back to Liverpool. Remember, they spent £20 million on him. It didn't work out, and he's moved back. That is brilliant and bizarre that he's finally ended back up at Liverpool. Manchester United, they're also only a 3.5-star reputation team. They are rich. They've got Sean Dyche in charge. That is fantastic. They've had more managers than Liverpool, as you can see there. Gary Neville did leave. He went to manage Bournemouth, of all teams, who, of course, are a higher rated team than Manchester United now. They've been qualifying for Europe. It's just, it's such a strange parallel universe, isn't it, that we've created. Their key players, Chahanoglu. Their captain is a Czech Republican left winger, Alice Machedu, something like that. I've murdered that. Those of you that watch me regularly know I murder pronunciations. Sorry. They spent £41 million. They've actually spent less than Liverpool. Their top signing there was Callum Chambers from Bournemouth. So Arsenal released him. He went to he went to West Ham after Arsenal released him for a couple years. Moved to Southampton for £13 million. Moved to Bournemouth for £18.25 million. Didn't have a very good season at Southampton or Bournemouth, really. And then moved to Man United. Look how much money's been spent on him in the last 3 years. It's really strange. 3 caps for England. It's not quite worked out for him, has it? They've signed Dedrick Boyata from Rangers as well, the Belgian centre-back. Fascinating stuff once again. So Arsenal went down with 32 points. Dean Smith is their manager. They've had quite a few managers as well during this. Of course, Ramos was in charge of Chelsea, wasn't he? He's been in charge of Chelsea and Arsenal on this so far. They're only a 3.5-star reputation team. They are rich, so Liverpool seem to be struggling financially, but Man United and Arsenal are okay. They did spend £67 million, and they spent £21 million on Lucas from Chelsea, but it obviously wasn't good enough to keep them up. They didn't spend their money wisely enough. They spent £4.4 million on Tom Cleverley, coming in from Watford. So yeah, not a great season for Arsenal. But let's have a look at the Championship teams then to see how they got on. We saw Tottenham win the playoff final against QPR, but Chelsea promoted as champions of the Championship, immediately promoted back to the top flight. That was their first relegation in the last in part 2, remember. But they have gone straight back up. Gerardo Martino was the manager that guided them to the title. They've not had very many managers, actually, a bit like Liverpool. 3.5-star reputation team as well. They are still rich. I assume they've still got Abramovich in charge. Yeah, he's still the owner. So they've still got his money. They've got Jack Butland. This is quite a small squad, actually, for a Championship team, I would say. They spent but they sold, because of going down, of course, they had to sell a lot of players. They sold £133 million worth of players. Wow, that is a complete clear out from Chelsea. This manager's worked wonders. Look at all the players he had to get rid of. They also loaned out a lot of players. But then he spent £84 million, but obviously a minus £50 million net spend. £22 million on Lewis Cook, who's an England international, just about, 4 caps. Bentalab came in, Danzo from Stoke, Cardoso. So they spent wisely, it looks like, because obviously they were promoted as champions. And Spurs, on the other hand, they managed to get into the playoffs. What a brilliant journey, actually. It's quite impressive considering relegated to League One, almost relegated to League Two, but then they went up as champions, and now they've got a second successive promotion back to the top flight. So they've completely recovered, and they're actually going to be playing in the top flight, and Arsenal are going to be playing below them now. So it looked pretty bad for Spurs, and you guys watching that are Spurs fans, but you're above Arsenal now, so that's something to celebrate. They've still got Lee Johnson in charge. He has worked wonders for Tottenham Hotspur. What a hero. They're only a 3-star reputation team now, though, and they've only got okay finances. But getting back to the top flight is key, because that Premier League money will come in and hopefully revive them a bit. They did spend £20 million net spend this season to get out of the Championship, and it worked. So I've holidayed another season until 2023. I'll have a look at Cup wins, Champions League wins, Ballon d'Or, that sort of thing at the end of today's video. Do it all in one go. But as you can see, Leicester City champions once again, but Man City and Chelsea have both managed to revive themselves and finish in the Champions League spots. And remember, Chelsea were only just promoted last year, so that is a really good achievement from them. Perhaps they're going to be back to their best now, or close to their best, because they seem to have completely, or almost completely recovered. They were a long way off Leicester, but still, they've recovered really well. Tottenham, on the other hand, relegated bottom of the table with only 16 points. So that recovery was short-lived. They only won 3 games. One of which was against Chelsea, strangely enough. A Liverpool comfortable mid-table finish. That might be what they're going to be now. A mid-table Premier League team. And we'll just move down to the Championship to see who got promoted. Oh, wow. Playoff final between Arsenal and Man United. Arsenal beat Manchester United to get promoted to the top flight on penalties as well. That is harsh, but that's the way the playoffs work, and they both finished on 81 points as well, so it was very, very close. So Manchester United and Tottenham will be in the Championship for the third and final season of this Part 3 today. Fascinating. I've said that a lot, but that is the key word of this series, fascinating. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I do love looking around these experiments and just finding these little nuggets and just these amazing little things that happen. As you can see, Alex Neil is in charge of Man City. Was he in charge of them last season? I can't remember that being the case. No, he wasn't. Yeah, Wagner's left. He was sacked, in fact. And Alex Neil has come in and guided them to a Champions League place after spending £153 million, mainly on this guy called Richard. Great name. Brazilian player called Richard from PSG. £81 million. They signed Gersbach from Palace, Iwobi from Bordeaux for £21.5 billion, and Embolo from Bournemouth for 24.5. Loads of money on these players. And they basically only sold. They didn't sell anyone. It's just loan fees going out. So they really are, just pushing hard, aren't they? Ben Woodburn, what a player he is, by the way. Top goal scorer for Man City again. He's got 60 caps and 31 goals for Wales at the age of 23. That is fantastic. And they've obviously qualified for the Champions League as well. Second top goal scorer in the league behind Carrillo for Liverpool. Chelsea finished third, with Martino still in charge of the club. But yes, I can see why. They spent 260 million. They did sell 80 million pounds worth of players. They obviously saved so much money in the Championship last year. Minus 50 net spend, of course, to get out of the Championship. Most teams have to spend so much money to try and get out of that league now, and Chelsea didn't have to because they already had a decent squad, I presume. But yeah, they did sell £80 million worth of players. I suppose some of the Championship quality players they just didn't need anymore and they didn't think were good enough for what they wanted to do in the Premier League. But look at how many players came in. They just completely revitalised their squad again. 2 seasons in a row, they've just completely changed their squad for the purposes of which league that they're in. That is just incredible management, I must say. It's the sort of thing you do when you play Football Manager yourself. When you go up the leagues and you just release loads of players or just completely rejuvenate the squad, sell tons of players off and bring them in. Some people love to play that way. And that's what this Chelsea manager has done. Bringing in all these players, and of course they finished third, so it worked. Liverpool down in 12th. They've got secure finances now, so they seem to have got a bit better financially at least, but they didn't spend much money. In fact, they've got a minus £20 million net spend, but it was enough. They had a good enough team to stay mid-table and comfortably survive this season. Spurs, on the other hand, minus 50 goal difference. Look who's in charge. David Moyes. In fact, Lee Johnson. He left to go to Watford. If they'd kept him, maybe he'd have been able to work some magic and keep Spurs up. But after 2 or 3 phenomenal seasons with Spurs, he's gone to Watford, who of course qualified for Europe quite a few times on this. And David Moyes came in. In fact, he came in last year, so Lee Johnson left just after the end of last season when he got Spurs promoted. David Moyes has been relegated with Spurs. But look at this. He actually stayed at West Ham a lot longer than obviously he has in real life. Then moved to Everton for a year. and then moved to Spurs. He moved back to his old team Everton, moved to Spurs, and he's got them relegated. Football Manager, you're so banterous sometimes. But look at this team. I don't really... I mean, I recognise a few players. So obviously, we're going to have regens by this point. But yeah, they've gone down in pretty poor fashion. Only 16 points this season. It's not good enough. And of course, we know about Arsenal and Man United. Arsenal promoted with Tim Howard in charge as manager. That's great. 44-year-old Tim Howard has moved to Arsenal after they sacked... in fact, Dean Smith left. He left to manage Swansea. And Tim Howard came in. Did they spend much money? They spent... no, not really, because they sold a ton of players. I mean, that's what happens when you get relegated from the Premier League and you've got a big wage budget like these teams, I suppose. They had to sell a lot of players. Iheanacho, good signing from Leicester, because I think he scored the goal in the playoff final. He was their top goal scorer with 15 goals as well this season. Manchester United, on the other hand, Stephen Kirby is in charge. He doesn't even have a picture, but he's in charge of Manchester United after Sean Dyche was sacked. He doesn't have a club anymore. This is interesting. Are we going to see the demise of Manchester United? They're under a transfer embargo due to breach of financial regulations. They must have spent too much in the Championship or whatever. They've had to sell all their players. And look at that. Look at all those players leaving. They almost got promoted, though, despite the problems. If they'd been promoted, I think their financial situation would have been okay. But what's going to happen to them next year with this transfer embargo in place? Are they still going to be good enough to get promoted and fight for the top of the table? They might be. But let's find out right now. They've done it. They've got promoted in the 2023-24 season in second place behind Swansea. So despite all those financial problems, a regen has fired them to glory because he's the top goal scorer in the league. I assume through their academy. Yes, indeed. Jacob Vaughan is their new hero, getting them promoted back to the top flight. Spurs almost relegated for the second season in a row. What is wrong? They're such a bipolar team. They're either good, like extremely good, or extremely poor. It's just bizarre. That club is in ruins. But they just about survived ahead of Sunderland by 1 point. They obviously got rid of David Moyes. If we just have a quick look. Yeah, David Moyes was sacked, predictably. He doesn't have a club anymore. Jamie Clapham has come in and almost got them relegated. I suppose he kept them up in a way. But Man United, despite that financial problem, it's over now. Still a national reputation, but they are rich. Doesn't show a transfer embargo. Maybe it didn't last very long because they did actually sign some players this season. And what if in the summer, James Baldock for £50 million in the Championship, rising to £61 million. He's a regen. Started at Southampton Academy, producing wonderful players again. He only made 3 appearances in the Premier League for Southampton, and Man United decided he was good enough to spend £50 million on. That is quite remarkable. He's not even an England international, and they've spent £50 million on him. I mean, he looks good, very good passing, vision, technique. I wouldn't say he's a £50 million player. In fact, we can have a look at his... Let's lose the in-game editor to see what his potential is. I wonder if I always forget which one it is. It's this one. So he's got very good potential. Current ability 138. Obviously, this is scored out of 200 for those of you that don't know. Potential ability. If you've got over 175, you're essentially... You've got the potential of being a world-class player. He's not got the potential to be a world-class player, but he's got the potential to be one of the best players around. And easily a very good player in the Premier League. And these days... probably is a £50 million player, or he's got the potential to be a £50 million player. So they've taken a gamble. Obviously he's 21, so I don't know how much growth there is left in him. He can probably get close to that, especially with Man United. We'll see. We might keep an eye on him in the next few seasons. But yeah, they sold a fair number of players. They brought in a few players, and it was enough to get them promoted quite easily. They've got Jack Grealish, by the way. 7 goals, 7 caps and 1 goal for England. What's the England team look like now, actually? Let's have a look. Michael Appleton is in charge of England. That is quite bizarre. Southgate finally resigned, and then Michael Appleton came in. Southgate doesn't have a team. Interesting. By the way, the England team is completely different now. The landscape of English football is just really different. Just think about the real life England squad. Every single player plays for an English team. It's incredibly different. We've got Pickford at Leipzig. Like, the best players have essentially gone abroad. So it's kind of reversed. The Premier League, the reputation has gone down now. It's the fifth best, isn't it? But we've got John Stones playing for Barcelona. Reece Oxford has ended up being good enough for England team. He plays for Leipzig. And we've got Eric Dyer at Barcelona. There's obviously a few English teams in here, but Harry Kane, the best player, plays for Dortmund. We've got Dele Alli playing for Bayern Munich, and Rashford now playing for Bayern Munich. Raheem Sterling playing for Real Madrid. Oxlade-Chamberlain at Atletico Madrid. It's really interesting. And Michael Appleton, that is really random. Let's go up to the top flight then, the English Premier League. And we'll have a look, first of all, at Man City, who finished third again. So they qualified for the Champions League. Second season in a row. By the way, Lozano, top goal scorer again for Newcastle. What a player this guy is. I didn't think he'd be a top goal scorer type player. He's a winger. I suppose he's like Salah in a way. Because he's a winger that gets loads of goals. And he's top scorer once again. This chap, by the way, I noticed him in the England team. He's a regen, playing for Manchester City. Started at Chelsea, but they spent £79 million on him this season. What a player this guy looks. Wow, look at that acceleration. 19 acceleration, 17 finishing, 16 dribbling, 17 composure, 19 off the ball. He's going to score goals, and he was the second top goal scorer this season as well. But let's look at Man City then. Andy Scott is now in charge of the club. Alex Neil was sacked. They have high expectations, don't they? Despite the fact, this experiment has had an impact on these teams. Man City don't seem to care about that. They still expect the very best from the managers. But they're not going for elite managers, strangely enough. Look how much money they're spending. They are spending so much money on this experiment. It has had no impact on their spending patterns whatsoever. If anything, they're spending more. They obviously are selling players as well. And Mbolo's gone to Chelsea for £35.5 million. He's moved around a bit, hasn't he? Schalke, Bournemouth, Man City last year, Chelsea this year. Yeah, he's moved around quite a bit. But yeah, their top signing was that Traore chap. This guy's come in, Petagna, an Italian international, for £70 million. They know how to spend money, that's for sure. And this is the current team. Doesn't he play for Blackburn? Yeah, he does. He does in real life. Moved to Stoke and then to Man City. He's their backup goalkeeper. By the way, well done to Newcastle United again for winning the league. I forgot to mention it's their second league title. Chelsea finished fifth, so they dropped off a bit this year after third place last year, but they've still got Martino in charge, and they're still spending lots of money, just like Man City. £270 million. 72 of that went on this regen. Nicholas Bautz, an Austrian international regen, who looks like a very good defender, to be fair. Stuttgart bought him a few years ago, and now Chelsea have bought him for £72 million. And £39 million on Dennis Mann, a Romanian. They're still selling lots of players as well, though. Traore, of course, went to Man City. Callum Chambers has moved once again. He's moved to Leicester. Look at this. This is just ridiculous. 13 million, 18.25, 15.5. He's moved around so much. What is this? This is ridiculous. 5 transfers in 5 seasons, all of them around about £15 million. Let's move down to Arsenal then, who finished down in 10th place. Liverpool, right, by the way, still mid-table team. But Arsenal done okay after promotion last year. Wagner in charge, 3.5-star reputation team. Ian Nacho's their captain. And they spent £56 million. That's a more sensible amount, isn't it? Sold £23 million worth of players as well. Yeah, they're kind of a mid-table team, I suppose, on this, but we might see them recover and become a top-quality team once again. Liverpool, down in 14th, so they've actually gone down a couple places with this Dutchman in charge. Lutake has been in charge recently. Neil Harris was sacked. Did they spend any money, though? They did, but yeah, they really are a mid-table team now on here, aren't they? This is the Liverpool squad. So we'll have a look at some of the cup competitions. Man City have actually managed to win the FA Cup. We've seen Chelsea win it as well, of course. But Man City beat Newcastle 3 years ago. Newcastle beat Everton. Leicester beat Brighton. Leicester and Newcastle, the 2 dominant teams, aren't they, in England right now? Fascinating. Carabao Cup, though. Man City have managed to win it twice now. But Swansea and Newcastle have won the 2 previous to that. Community Shield, for those of you that are interested, these are the winners and runners-up of the Community Shield. Champions League, we've not seen an English winner, and I don't think we will see one for a while. Monaco have managed to win it. Bayern Munich have won it 3 times. We've not seen complete dominance from Real Madrid. They only won that first one. Barcelona have won it as well. The Euro Cup, we've seen a variety of winners. Sevilla's dominance has ended quite a long time ago, but we've seen Hoffenheim, CSK Moscow, Lazio, Leverkusen, Dortmund, AC Milan and Lyon win it. And the World Cup, we've had 2 interesting winners. Oh, does this... I mean, obviously we saw Croatia beat Italy in 2018, but, you know, that they could actually do it in real life at the time of recording this. I think this will be up before the semi-final. But yeah, Portugal beat Ukraine in the final of the most recent World Cup a couple years ago. That is really quite interesting. Let's have a look at that final. 2-1, we can't see it, but Portugal beat Ukraine 2-1, and in the third place playoff, Belgium beat France 1-0. Fascinating. And the Euros, we've had 1 Euros during this. It was Belgium that won it in 2020, beating Germany in the final. Let's go and have a look at that, actually. I mean, how did England get on in 2020? Sorry, it was they finished second in their group behind Croatia to qualify for the next round, where we saw them lose against Poland 3-1, which isn't great. I don't know how much of an impact this experiment has had on the English team, because we've got some of these, like Harry Kane, playing in other countries, playing for Dortmund. I don't know. I feel like it could be beneficial in a way. Belgium beat Germany on penalties. We can't see that either. We'll have a look at the world's best players then, just out of interest. Oh, Harry Kane won it in 2017 whilst at Dortmund. That's incredible. He only got 19 goals. Ronaldo only 18 and Messi 11. I feel like it's very hard for the game to replicate real life with these players in particular. When you're in charge of a club yourself on Football Manager, you can get players scoring 50 goals. But when you look... Oh, no, wait, this is the Golden Ball, sorry. This isn't World Best Player. This is Golden Ball. So he scored the most goals in the top 5 European leagues, something like that. Is that right? Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. But he might have won World's Best Player of the Year. But still, that is a lower number of goals compared to real life. My point is still valid. It is very low compared to real life. But these are the winners. We've seen Messi managed to pick it up a couple times. Bernardo Silva, playing for Bayern Munich, picked it up. What we want to look at, we'll have a look at Goalkeeper of the Year. Neuer's managed to win it twice. Courtois, De Gea, Lloris, ter Stegen, and Hamid Arab. A regen goalkeeper at the age of 22 is beating Courtois and ter Stegen. That is amazing. Dutch goalkeeper, playing for Bayern Munich, signed for £30 million in Feyenoord. Wow, what a player. At the age of 23, he's managed to win Goalkeeper of the Year. Footballer of the Year then. So, wow, Hazard won it whilst playing for Bayern Munich, ahead of De Bruyne, who was playing for Barcelona, and Messi playing for Barcelona. Hazard then won it for a second year in a row, ahead of Suarez and Cristiano Ronaldo. Messi returned to win it at the age of 32, ahead of Hazard and Bernardo Silva. Then Hazard won it for a third time, beating Bernardo Silva and Neymar. Then Salah managed to win it whilst at Real Madrid. It's 27 goals that season, ahead of Bernardo Silva. Is featuring heavily. What a player he is. He always turned into the best player in the world on sort of FM18 as well, I think. But Salah is exceptional. He's 32 now, though. And Messi's managed to feature at the age of 34. Bernardo Silva's won it twice in a row now, ahead of 31-year-old De Bruyne, who is 32 now, but 140 caps for Belgium. He's still playing for Barcelona. Doing very, very well over there. But Bernardo Silva won it again this year. Neymar, 31. He's not actually managed to win it, has he? He's missed out to all these other players, just about. Well, Golden Ball, it's a pretty similar story. But Harry Kane did win it. This is there's the World Player of the Year and the World Golden Ball. Well, the World Golden Ball is actually the Ballon d'Or, I think. So Harry Kane won the Ballon d'Or in 2017 whilst at Dortmund. That's where you need to move to, Harry. You need to move to Dortmund. I mean, you have to move a year ago. So go back in time, move to Dortmund, and you'll win the Ballon d'Or. Suarez has managed to win it. Neymar did win this award. Messi again, Bernardo Silva, and then Neymar most recently. This is really, really intriguing. Let's have a look at the reputation of the clubs. Bayern Munich currently top. The best English team down is Leicester City, down with a 4-star reputation. below Brazilian teams here, Portuguese, French teams. It's amazing, really. Financially, can we look at how much money they have? Turnover. This is the turnover of the teams in the world. So Man City's up in 5th place with Chelsea and Man United. So they've still got a massive fan base around the world. They're still pulling in lots of money, which is probably why they've been able to recover, to be honest. But there we go. I think that's the end of part 3, guys. Like I said, if you want to see a part 4 and a holiday 3 more seasons, look into it in detail. Or alternatively, if you prefer me to just holiday, a few years into the future and then end it there, let me know in the comment section below. But I'm happy to keep going in a little bit of detail. It really is quite interesting looking at this. So yes, I'm very happy to keep going. But thank you for watching part 3 of this experiment. Until next time, as always, enjoy FM18. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you very soon.